I made over 25,000 cold calls over just 365 days, and there is one thing that increased my conversion rate more than anything else, and it's the biggest thing that most cold callers overlook. It took me from an introverted sales amateur with no experience to earning more than people 2 to 3 times my age at just 21 years old. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to dramatically improve your conversion rates when it comes to cold calls, regardless of what you sell and who you sell it to. So let's get straight into it. Now, I need to take you back to when I was 21. I was in 5k worth of payday loans. I had £25,000 student debt, just got kicked out of university. You can see those loans from my emails. And quite embarrassingly, here's an email from my letting agent saying I had overdue rental. They were proceeding with legal proceedings. So I had to get myself into a job that would have me earning money. But I was introverted. I didn't want to get into sales, but this was me at 21, I did my first sales job. This is literally the office that I was working with. Pretty bleak, I know. And I remember my first day in the office, jumping straight on the phone, setting a KPI of a minimum of 100 calls per day, up to 150 and in some cases even 200 calls per day. And I used to walk to the edge of the office trembling with my script in hand. I was that scared to get on the phones. Now, I spent my first few weeks tweaking my script. I was convinced that the words were the problem, that I just needed to get comfortable with the words and then I would get better at sales. But I realized the secret that all the top reps understood inside the agency, and it wasn't the words at all, and I'm going to teach you this today. Within 3 months of learning this, I was within the top 3 salespeople internationally within this company. I paid off all my payday loans within 6 months of working with them, and I made over 25,000 cold calls that year, and this video is what made them work. I've since gone on to make well over $10 million online through my own businesses, all as a result of the skills and the resilience that I learned from being a cold caller way back in the day. So if you're any sales-based business, especially if you own an agency, for example, then you need to make sure that you pay attention to what I'm going to go through today, because you'll be able to apply this to, frankly, all client acquisition strategies. This is the key to success when it comes to cold outreach. So let's explore why most people suck at cold calling. First things first, they obsess, like me, over scripts, but they ignore how they actually sound. Now, this is a tough pill to swallow because everyone wants to think it's the script that they're lacking, but it's not the words you are saying, it's how you are saying them. So I studied all the top reps in this company. Nobody had a script in front of them. And I looked at them and I observed the people that were on the whiteboard that had their names at the top, that were making the most commissions every single month. They were just free flowing. They were the people walking around the office without their script in hand. But they weren't winging it. They understood the psychology behind the words they were saying. So they scrapped their script with pure intent because they deeply understood the psychology behind the script itself. And this reminded me of my acting days. Now, when I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor. What I learned about good acting is you have to learn the script, you have to embody the character of whoever it is you're reading the script of, and then you master the tone. But you cannot master their tone if you're still standing and just looking at a piece of paper. So the first thing you do in acting is get rid of the script as soon as possible. Now, when you focus on words, you sound robotic, you sound salesy, okay? You sound like 99% of other cold callers. Now, I've mentored thousands of agency owners over the years. It's a service-based business, and I've listened to thousands of cold calls at the same time. And the biggest thing, or biggest mistake I see people make is I can see their eyes reading off their computer screen, reading off their script, and they sound so robotic and salesy. But scripts are like training wheels on a bike. Okay, they are there for you to learn balance, but then they get turned off. Okay, as soon as possible, as soon as you know how to ride that bike, you don't keep those training wheels on the side. They're getting out of your way. Okay, they're stopping you from expressing freely and getting the most out of the ride. You tear them off. Your script is exactly the same. We have to memorize our script, and then we have to get rid of it. And only then are we able to get into what really makes the difference on the calls: our voice and our tonality. So this is how your voice dictates who you are, okay? I love this quote from Christopher Voss. He's an FBI negotiator. Body language and tone of voice, not words, are our most powerful assessment tools. Now, when we're in a sales-based environment, we are speaking to someone who very quickly is going to make an evaluation of who we are, what kind of person we are, what we want, okay, and our motives, not just our front-facing motives, but also our back-end, our ulterior motives as well. Now, in cold calling, your voice is all that you have. You don't have body language, you don't have your face, you don't have your brand, your website, your logo, your testimonial, all of this leverage that helps build the perception of us. The entire perception of us is built in the first few seconds by how we sound on the phone. So if you sound rushed, okay, you're blurting out your script, you're going to sound pretty nervous. If you sound pushy, you're desperate. If you sound calm, they're going to trust you. Okay, so tonality is the only control mechanism you have to shape the prospect's impression of you. So we have to become masters of our tone. Your voice is the lens through which they judge your intentions, your energy, and your worth. So whilst most people are thinking about the words they are saying, true sales experts scrap that very, very quickly. And they think about the way they are saying the words they are saying, so they can control the perception on the phone. Because when we are on the phone, the only weapon we have is our voice. We don't have our body language that somebody can read. We don't have our presence and our energy. We don't have our branding, etc. We only have our voice and the words that we are saying. But when everybody has a good script, because there's such great content out there online, like many of the videos I've put out in the past when I go through cold calling scripts, then everybody already has the words. And so it's the way we deliver the words that actually makes the difference. So I'm going to give you some environmental foundations before we break into how you can actually master your tone, because there are ways that you are going to say your script that are going to be the difference of you getting conversions and not. But none of it matters if we don't have our environmental foundations in place. So we have to create the perfect environment when it comes to calling. If we've got a cluttered desk, if we have background noise, if we have poor posture, or we have a bad audio setup and we can't hear properly, it's going to creep into our energy. Okay? It's going to creep into our ability to fully express ourselves and give our all to the call itself. And so I recommend using hands-free or headphones to free your body for natural expression. You don't want to be like cramped down, like holding up a phone on your desk, like sitting there, because you're really closed. This is not a good place of expression. Your diaphragm is compressed, your breathing isn't as free as it could be. We want to be standing up, we want to be free-flowing, we want to be able to express so our vocal cords open up. So in conjunction with that, we stand up when we're calling. We don't want to be sitting down. We want to free our diaphragm. We want to have better airflow and a stronger, more convicted voice. Okay? Body follows breath. Voice follows body. So we move and we pace whilst we speak. You'll notice if you've ever watched me, let's say on my Reno Reach series where I started a brand new agency from scratch and I started cold calling businesses, you'll notice that I stand up and I express. I'm moving around and I'm pacing. Even though the prospect can't see you, if your body is animated, your voice becomes more alive. You might have noticed even as I started sitting up properly then, I started expressing myself as I'm acting this out to you. I become more expressive in the way that I'm speaking. Okay, I become more emotive when we speak with more conviction. Also, smile while you speak. I say this all the time, and people are like, well, they can't see me. But smiling adds warmth and upward inflection. They can't see it, but they can hear it. You notice the way that changed? If we smile when we speak, the subconscious mind knows that. It can hear it through the phone. And we're naturally going to trust that person more. We're going to at least be more drawn to that person. We're going to be more curious. But if your body is closed off, your voice will be too. If you're nervous, if you're anxious, you're sitting down in one place and you're just on the phone and you're saying, hey, can I speak to John, please? It's not going to have the same impact if you just being on the hands-free, like, hey, can I speak to John, please? You're going to be a lot more expressive and relaxed. Your tone will carry more power, more clarity, and more confidence. Okay? Clarity and confidence do really important things when it comes to delivering our tone. Now, I'm going to dive deep into the specific emotions that we are trying to invoke when it comes to these calls. But we have to make sure we have these foundations in place. You are fighting this uphill battle. All the forces, the outside world, are against you. And it doesn't matter how much you are bringing attention to your tonality. If these basics aren't in place, okay, you're going to be handicapped. It's like running with an anchor behind you. You just, what's the point, right? Now, very quickly, before we move on, if you want completely free access to this entire training document, then head over to Instagram, follow me at Jordan Platten, and DM me the word tonality, and I'll get this sent straight over to you. You can study it in your own time or use it as a training document for your team. So let's go into the tactics for mastering tone. This is vital for your success, so write these things down. I'm going to give you the practical tools that you can use to apply to your script, and I'm also going to give you a whole bunch of examples. Now, why am I building that context? I watched the graphs back of these videos, the engagement graphs, and I noticed people skip through to where I give them the exact words, the action point. And then every now and then we get a couple of comments saying, there's a little bit of fluff in this video. That fluff just so happens to be the difference between success and failure. That fluff is the part that you are missing, which is why you keep watching content staying in the same place that you are in. If you want to succeed, this is the information that you need to pay attention to. Because if not, you're always going to stay in this position where you're just copying other people's proven strategies without being able to come up with them yourself because you don't yet understand the context. I would never put any piece of information in any of my videos that I didn't believe was fundamentally integral to you getting the result that I'm teaching you about. I want to see you guys win. So please pay attention. Tactics to master tone. The first thing that we're going to use is pitch. Pitch communicates emotion. We have a higher pitch and we signal excitement, interest, or urgency. This is a higher pitch. And then we have a lower pitch and we signal confidence, calm, and control. So we have to use the right pitch for the right emotional state. And there are different parts of the cold call that we are going to apply different levels of pitch that I'm going to refer to. A quick example of this would be, let's say we're opening up, we say, hey, is John about? There's a lot more urgency with that higher tone, opposed to, hey, is John about? More control, more confidence. So same words, different energy. Then we have pace, which is how in control we actually are. So if we speed up and we're speaking too quickly, it feels like we're trying to get through the call before they hang up. So we're just trying to reel off our script. But if we slow down, it feels like we're confident and we're comfortable, okay? So an example of this may be an opener to the decision maker. We might say, hey, it's Jordan here. I know you're busy, so I'll be quick. Are you taking on new Invisalign clients right now? Really quickly just blurting out a script. Oh, granted, that's not the best opener. It can still work, but it's a little bit old school. As opposed to, hey, it's Jordan here. Are you still taking on new Invisalign clients right now? A lot more controlled, a lot more inquisitive, and therefore we're going to get a better response rate. Pauses create control. They make your words feel intentional. They give the prospect space to process. Pauses are like an extension of pace, okay? You get used to sitting in the silence a little bit. And the example of that might be in our elevator pitch. When we've had permission, they say, okay, what is this regarding? We might say, without pauses, I create AI systems for dentists. I generate them new leads, but I also handle your inbound leads and increase conversions by up to 3 times. It's a lot of information to process there. Can't really get the gist of it all. You kind of just, at the end, you're just listening to that, 3 times conversion, something about leads. It's hard to process that as we blurt it out. As opposed to, I create AI systems for dentists. I generate new leads for them, but I also handle their inbound leads and on average increase conversion by 3 times. So it's a lot slower. We've got some micro pauses in there. I create AI systems for dentists. Pause. I generate them new leads. Pause. But I also handle inbound leads and increase conversion by up to 3x. So the combination of slowing down the pace and introducing micro pauses has a lot more impact, and therefore we're going to create more control and create a space for the prospect to actually understand what we're saying and process all of that. They're processing as we're saying it, rather than trying to process at the end. And then what happens is most people will blurt their elevator pitch and they won't be comfortable with the silence that comes afterwards. And then they try and say something else, and all of a sudden they distract the conversation to a different topic. Next, we have inflection. Now, inflection controls certainty. So if we have a downward inflection, it's belief. If we have an upward inflection, then it's also doubt. So we want to end our statements like we mean them, not like we're waiting for approval. An example of that would be, it's Jordan from Affluent. This is inflection. Affluent, as opposed to, it's Jordan from Affluent. It's the final bit of the word. That's inflection. It's Jordan. From affluent, that's like, you know me? You know who I am? Yeah? Or as opposed to, it's Jordan. From affluent. It's a statement. It's Jordan. From affluent. It's an assumption that you already know who I am. Same words, completely different way that they are received. Inflection is very important. It's really important. Well, I mean, all these things are equally as important as each other. Finally, we have volume. Volume controls presence. Volume is still relevant on a cold call. We can handle or we can change the amount of volume that we've got as we speak, especially important in an in-person interaction. We don't want to shout, but we do need to fill the space when we are speaking. Clear, steady projection makes you sound confident. Now let's use these tactics to convey emotion. I'm going to do some role play for you to demonstrate this stuff. I'm speaking as if I was speaking to someone face to face. I'm using the same curious facial expressions that I would in person, and it's coming across in my voice. So as an exercise, close your eyes and listen to what I'm saying and see if it makes sense to you. See if you feel that emotion in yourself. Confused? That's interesting. Why not? Concerned? That must be exhausting. How long's that been going on for? Now, to emphasize this point, we're using downward inflection. That must be exhausting. That must be exhausting. That is confirming the client's pain, okay? As opposed to, that must be exhausting. That's an unconfident statement. If we get an identification of pain in any sales-based environment, we use downward inflection to confirm that pain. That must be exhausting. How long's that been going on for? Increase pitch, increase upward inflection, therefore demonstrating genuine concern and a genuine desire to help. Now, all of these things you will do organically and subconsciously if you actually care about the prospect. The trouble is, when you're first starting in sales, like me, like anyone else, you're just so set on getting the sale, so set on getting the meeting booked, that you don't really genuinely care just yet. It takes a little while for you to start genuinely caring and stop thinking about your bank balance. And that's okay. So let's bring consciousness to it. That must be exhausting. How long's that been going on for? Confirmation, genuine care. Playful. Still working from the sofa, or have we made it to the desk today? I'm smiling, I'm joking, we've got that playful tone as opposed to still working from the sofa, or have we made it to the desk today? Completely different conversation. It's now like we're judging them. Challenge it. Well, hang on, if you've waited 6 months already, what's going to make this time any different? A lot of downward inflection there. Playing around with tone as well. Same words, different energy. That's what tone does. I think that's pretty clear now. So let's bring it all together and apply this to an actual cold call. These are your two characters. The reality is you can't speak the same way to a gatekeeper, like a secretary, as you would to a decision maker. Your tone has to shift, and your character has to shift as well. These are the two characters you will wear on every single cold call. Character one is the old friend. This is the character that you are going to play when you are speaking to gatekeepers. You're calling like you already know the decision maker. Okay, you're confident, casual, and you're warm. You don't sell, you assume familiarity. Now, an example, as lots of people say, "Hi, can I speak to the owner, please?" They don't know the business owner's name. They're speaking with a very high tone, normally quite quickly. It's like, "Please, can I speak to them?" And it doesn't work very well. Versus, "Hey, it's John about." You don't have that lower tone. There's a lot of authority in what we're saying. Or, if it matches you, and for some of you who naturally speak with a higher pitch, you could say, "Hey, it's John about." And then you're creating more urgency in what you're saying. But the key is we're assuming familiarity. And some of you will match better with a lower pitch. Some of you will gel better with a higher pitch. You've got to play around with this yourself. That's why it's important to bring consciousness to it and always use the tone that better matches your personality. But also at the same time assessing how that's going to be perceived. It's fine to use upward tone, a pitch, when we are speaking to the gatekeeper, but it has to come across as urgency rather than come across as neediness or desperation. Now, gatekeepers are trained to block strangers, not familiar voices. This is why it works. When you sound like someone they should know, they treat you like someone they should know. So imagine you're calling up a friend, or you're calling up a friend's business, and their secretary picks up. How are you going to speak to them? Well, if you know their name, you might say, "Hey, Sarah, can you chat me through to John?" It's going to be very casual. If you don't know the name, you just say, hey, can you chuck me through to John? It's almost a little bit like the gatekeeper's a little bit inconvenient for you. They're kind of just there to process the call. That's your mentality. They're there to just put you through to the right person. That's how you want to speak to the gatekeeper, but never rude. You never want to be rude. You never want to argue with a gatekeeper because they have the ability to stop you from ever getting hold of a decision maker. I've made that mistake in the past, and I'll never make that mistake again. So we want to be very friendly to the gatekeeper. If we get to know their name even better, hey Sarah, can you chuck me through to John? Now, they're going to be thrown off guard if they get called by their name, and then you very casually ask for the decision maker, because they are going to assume that they know you, or at least they should know you. And actually, in many cases, they're probably thinking, oh shit, I've forgotten who this is. And they just put you through anyway. That is what we are trying to invoke when we're speaking to the gatekeeper. And we can't achieve that by, hey, can I speak to the owner, please? It's just not going to work. Okay, so it's the old friend mentality. We're calling up as an old friend, someone that already knows the person that we're trying to get hold of. Now, when we do get hold of the decision maker, by the way, I can create content for days on getting past gatekeepers and any of this stuff. If any of this has really piqued your interest, drop a comment down below and let me know which part, and I can create a more detailed video on that specific thing in the future. Now, as the trusted expert, we are calling because we have inside knowledge, because we genuinely want to help. Okay, so we shift to calm authority. It's clear, it's composed, there's no fluff. We're only speaking with conviction. We're saying the minimum amount of words. We are equal to them, not below, not above. And this is hard when you're first starting a business, okay, because you think you're down here and who you're speaking to is up here. No, you have to be equal to them, and definitely not with some state of authoritarian, some inflated ego where you think you're better than them. That's not going to work either. You're not asking for time, you are offering them value with confidence. Now, an example that I see a lot of people use is, John, it's Jordan here. This is a cold call. Do you want to hang up now or give me 30 seconds? I hate this. It's such terrible positioning. It's so insecure, and it's almost beggy. It's like you're instantly down here. Remember, you're equal to them, but you're positioning yourself as down here. You're declaring yourself as a rep. You're declaring yourself as a salesperson. So you've got to do all this work to earn the respect of the person. And you have to rely on your offer being so good that it compensates for the fact that you are perceived as this little batty boy down here who's just like, this is a cold call. Do you want to give me 30 seconds? It's like, oh, God's sake, yeah, all right. Or they just hang up on you. Instead, John, it's Jordan here. I'm just down the road from you. Have you seen that Quick Clinic is using AI to get new patients? A lot more authoritative, a lot more conviction. I'll break that down a little bit. And some of you can use this opener if you want to. The key is I want you to write your own opener and test it out for yourself. And this why I'm creating this depth of training for you, okay? Many of you will just copy this. The people that really feast and get the best results are the ones that will understand everything for a depth where they can write their own. John, it's Jordan here. I'm just down the road from you. Downward inflection, really confident. I'm just down the road from you. I'm leveling with you. I'm equal to you. To be in as well, locality is a massive in when we're speaking to people. And only use that if you are actually in the same area of them. Obviously, you don't want to lie. Have you seen the Quick Clinic? Pause. That's a competitor. Have you seen the Quick Clinic is using AI to get new patients? Now, in that small frame, they're going to be like, Quick Clinic, what's he got to say here? Instantly, that's authority. They're listening. Here's a pricked up. He's using AI to get new patients. Then it's curiosity. As opposed to, John, it's Jordan here. I'm just down the road from you. Have you seen a Quick Clinic is using AI to get new patients? That's not going to have the same impact as, Jordan, it's John here. I'm just down the road from you. Have you seen that Quick Clinic is using AI to get new patients? A lot slower. We're focusing on the tonality. It's much more genuine. It feels like we just called up on a whim, and we're just calling up on a whim. And that's the key. We don't want them to feel like a number. We don't want them to feel like a list on our database. We want them to feel like we're just speaking to them individually. This is like, these two statements are completely different positioning statements. I mean, this isn't even a positioning statement. This is just like, please give me your time. Versus, I've actually got something you guys want to hear here. Now, you don't want to sound like a rep. You want to sound like a peer. You're not there to sell, you are there to create curiosity. You are there to make them want to listen to you, to grab their attention, to hook them in from a place of authority, from a place of respect. Okay? Because if we hook their attention, they're going to trust us far more. And when we deliver our pitch, it's going to transfer and we're going to get a higher conversion rate. This is the difference using tactics like this. This is how I was able to be one of the top 3 performers in the company that I was working with. Because so many people were just leaning towards this because they felt insecure and they were scared to really go deep into the sell and master their tonality. Now, a quick bonus, when we have delivered our pitch and we're then going to book a meeting, because that's what we're doing on a cold call. We're not selling, never sell on a cold call. Don't be pressured into doing that, even if the person's really interested. You're booking in a meeting so you can get in a sales-based environment later on a Zoom call, or even better in person. Your close rate will be higher if you're in person. Never convince them. Okay, never convince them to jump on a call with you, because we've done all this hard work to invoke curiosity, build trust, build authority, position ourselves well. If we start convincing them to have a meeting with us, then we come across desperate and we reveal all of our cards. We reveal our true colors. We undo the work. Instead, if anything, introduce a little bit of confusion. That statement, what have you got to lose? It's a very nice statement. It works very well in trying to get people to change their mind on having a meeting. It instantly diffuses them and it breaks the third wall and makes them assess the way that they're looking at that meeting. And I've got 1,000 other frames for where that comes from. Again, we can talk on this in more detail in the future. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you need help on. Final words for this one today. People don't buy your words, they buy how your words feel. Tonality is your delivery system for trust, and this is the one thing that no script can teach. So go apply it, let me know how you get on, subscribe for more, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.